Rock 1041, hello, welcome Thursday, everyone. My name is Nick Reed. Tomorrow we got a couple of things going on. Our standard Friday Road show. It's also, you probably heard the announcements. It is a Burleson breakfast, so the Burleson folks will also be out there as we broadcast live. And if you've got a Burleson sticker on your vehicle, they're going to buy you breakfast. If you don't have one, they'll provide you one if you'd like. And they usually have T-shirts on hand as well. So that will be going on. And then we are going to be having happy hour also over at Vineyard Market in Ozark, 4 to 6. And we'd love to see you for that too. It's just a hangout thing. Just that's all it is. They usually have like buy one get one on beers and house wines, and sometimes deals on apps. It varies at times, so I'm not sure exactly what tomorrow will have, other than all of us together. ABC Books sponsoring our Author of the Week today in the 8 o'clock hour. Christy Fulnecki will be joining us as well. The Department of Justice announcing that the feds have arrested the former director of the intelligence project of the Southern Poverty Law Center for funneling donor dollars to her boyfriend, Nazi. Classic lefty. Heidi Byrick in California. The Department of Justice charging her with wire fraud conspiracy to submit false statements to a federally insured bank, and conspiracy to conceal money laundering, although some outlets are saying she was CFO. That has not been confirmed exactly what her position was, but it was one that allowed her to funnel over $1 million out to her boyfriend, who was part of one of these neo-Nazi organizations. Byrich previously ran the Southern Poverty Law Center's project tracking hate groups, and allegedly, according to the indictment, funneled the donor money to members of those organizations under the guise of getting inside information on their activities. Now, that's their public defense. What we learn is really going on, to, I think, most observers, objectively, is paying financially assisting these organizations so they stay relevant. Some of the other indictments that involve others with the Southern Poverty Law Center note that it wasn't just a situation in which they got somebody to go in as a spy, and it was an employee, so of course they're paying them. And then the spy comes back and tells them, here's what's going on. Here's an event that's upcoming, so that the Southern Poverty Law Center could then expose it and stop it from happening. In fact, quite the contrary. Events that were never happening, they used donor dollars in order to create some of these events. One of the events that they financially supported and even arranged for busing of individuals to come in was the South Carolina event that Joe Biden claimed, Nazis with bulging veins came out of the woods with torches, and Donald Trump claimed that Nazis were very fine people. That entire narrative of motivation for Joe Biden to run for the presidency happened because the Southern Poverty Law Center made it happen. Let's not forget there was a gal who was a counter-protester at that event who lost her life when somebody hit her, ran over her with his vehicle. And so it's those sorts of events that never would have happened in the first place, or never would have happened on the scale that they did if it were not for the Southern Poverty Law Center funneling those dollars to these organizations. And it's when you understand what the scam is, it becomes very clear. It's a money-making operation. The Southern Poverty Law Center was created by an entrepreneur who was looking for different ways to make money. I think he did some sort of marketing, like a multi-level or direct marketing or something, before he created the Southern Poverty Law Center. Then there was some church burning that took place, and he's like, aha, I don't have to create anything to make money other than fear. I'll take some event like this, tell people that this is what is increasing across the country, give me money, and we'll make sure that these things stop occurring. And the problem with that sort of plan is if you actually do what you say you're going to do, you're not needed any longer. If you set out, tell people, give me money, I will, and my organization will stop these hate groups from being relevant. If you succeed, then there's no reason for people to give you money any longer. Your job is gone. Your career is gone. All of that money that flows in from the donors is gone. So what do? You create new scenarios. Say, look, see, the problems still exist. It's like a plumber that convinces you to be loyal to that particular plumber, and you've got a leak, and so you hire the plumber to come in, and the plumber does fixing, but then when you're not looking, goes and loosens some sort of little part over here, or puts a pinhole in some pipe over here, and lo and behold, a couple months later, you realize, wait, there's another leak. I got to call that guy back over here. Spend another $600 to get this fixed. So he comes over to fix it, and you're not looking, repeat. That's what the Southern Poverty Law Center is doing. And the latest arrest, Heidi Byrick, she was, according to the indictment, funneling these dollars to $1.2 million to her boyfriend, who was in a neo-Nazi group. And some of this they can try to play off as, well, we were just really bad at our job. Like, we did it wrong. We weren't trying to create neo-Nazis. We weren't trying to create events. We were really genuinely trying to stop them, but, we're just really bad at this. One of the problems they've created for themselves, according to the indictment, is some of these Nazis, neo-Nazis that they were paying in order to help create and expand on some of these events. They wrote down payments. They created these jobs that didn't exist. I think one of them was a job working at a bookstore or something. And so that's where some of the fraud comes into play. When you are utilizing the banking system and you are paying somebody, but you're claiming that you are paying them for this thing, when in fact you're paying them for something else. Apparently you're not supposed to do that, at least in certain context. I saw an ad, I forget what network it was on, a couple of months ago, Southern Poverty Law Center. It was running with quite frequency, soliciting donations. I thought, yeah, I bet you are. I bet you are. But I guarantee you, there are still lefties out there that are writing checks to this organization, even though those checks are going to create hostile, racist events and organizations. They'll continue to write those checks. Springfield's Talk 104.1. Weather in a moment. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. An extreme heat warning is in effect until 8 p.m. Sunday for the entire listening area. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 99, heat index values as high as 107. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 76. For your Friday, sunny with a high near 100 and heat index values as high as 108. And for Saturday, sunny with a high near 99.
There's been this ongoing surrogate story that, or saga, I should say, that has, perhaps come to an end. And it involves a surrogate mother that she was a nurse from Alaska, McKenna West, and she had entered into a surrogacy agreement through an organization called Worldwide Surrogacy Specialist with some couple out of California, Nasheen Gilkar and Omar Ahmed. And the pregnancy proceeded normally until an anatomy scan revealed the diagnosis of hypoplastic left heart syndrome, in which the left side of the heart is severely underdeveloped and unable to pump oxygen-rich blood effectively. And according to the information provided in a number of stories on this, without intervention, the condition is typically fatal within days of birth, but is treatable through a series of staged surgeries, beginning with what is called the Norwood procedure shortly after delivery. Hospitals with specialized expertise, including those in Dallas, have had strong success rates with these procedures in recent years, offering the baby a substantial chance of survival and a meaningful life. Yet the intended parents invoked the abortion provision in their agreement and attempted to force West to terminate their child. Doctors in Alaska declined to perform the late-term abortion because it was high risk. So arrangements were made for her to travel for the procedure elsewhere, but West refused and said, no, I'm not going to kill the baby. She researched the condition, learned of the expertise available in Texas, so she relocated to Dallas County, seeking both the legal protection given to the unborn under Texas law and access to medical teams experienced in treating the defect. West even offered to assume full responsibility for the child or arrange adoption, releasing the couple from further obligation, but the biological parents rejected her plea instead. The parents pursued legal action, attempting to force her first to get the abortion and then to give birth in California, where they could withhold consent for surgeries in order to save his life. So when it became clear to them they were not going to be able to force her, that there wasn't any mechanism that would allow, like it's done in China, for example, government officials to come in, strap her down, and force her to get an abortion. Though that is what they wanted, they attempted to force her to have the baby in California, because in California, they could let their own child, they could refuse life-saving medical measures for their own child and instead let their baby girl or boy suffer and just die. On the name of compassion, sort of like a post-birth abortion, which is what it would be. Taking active measures in order to kill your own child. Now, Attorney General of Texas Paxton, who also, of course, is running for the U.S. Senate, stepped in the day before the baby would actually be born, and the latest news is that sometime yesterday the baby was born. Paxton stated, baby Gabriel deserves a chance at life, and I will not allow anyone to unlawfully deny him medically necessary care. My office will use every tool available to protect innocent lives and ensure that every child receives the care required under Texas law. And then it was a day after that baby Gabriel was born. I find this to be such an interesting, yet at the same time, it demonstrates how dark our society has become and how not only indifferent but entitled some people feel when it comes to their, quote, choice to kill another human being, even their own child. I also find this to be a pretty spectacular contradiction for those on the left, whose entire argument, as flawed as it is, for the right to kill one's own child is my body, my choice. Yet here they were trying to force another woman, whom according to that again, it's not a woman's body. This is, when a woman is pregnant with her child, the woman does not have two heads. The woman does not have 20 toes and 20 fingers. And that's because it is not the woman's body. It is a separate body. The baby has its own head. The baby has all of the exact same, barring any sort of, malformations, the same number of body parts as the mother does, because it is its own separate human entity. But the left's position is contrary to that reality, and that no, it is the woman's body, and that is why the woman should be able to choose to kill her own child. because of that very scenario. Yet here, they're trying to force another woman to do something against her own body. At least initially. Now, that's, of course, why when they realized they weren't able to do that, they wanted instead to force her to take her body to California, forcing her to give birth with her own body in the state of their choosing, denying her the choice of what to do with her own body. And, of course, the pro-abortion community is on the side of the people who wanted to take away the woman carrying the child's right to do what she wanted to with her own body. And this actually makes perfect sense because it never is actually about a woman's own body. It is about this authoritarian mindset that the left has, that they should be able to choose what people live and what people die. Because there is no God, they are God, so they get to choose. And anyone that tells them all human life is equal, all human life is sacred, and you don't have the right to just pick a certain category of people and determine because you want it that way that you or others have the right to eliminate them from the planet. That's incorrect. It is wrong. And the action that they've been taking or attempting to take, and the support that they're getting from the pro-abortion people prove it isn't about a woman's body. It's about the ability to kill people. And the entire thing demonstrates the contradictions of their positions. What could they argue? Well, we should be able to force her to have an abortion because it's our baby. I thought it was her body. Until that argument works against them. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. Ozarks Elder Law is all about planning. Yesterday, I was talking about an area of Ozarks Elder Law expertise that I really had not talked about so much before, and part of it's because I was just revisiting their site. I go so much off my own experience with our family and the work that we had them do for us that at times I like, I need to check out the site. And when it comes to Medicare issues and making sure that with all the confusion, and you are talking about government, that you spend your whole life paying into a system and then you end up not getting what it is that legally back from what you've paid into the system, everything that you're entitled to. And that's an area that they can offer help. So it's not simply about, do I need a will? Do I need a trust? Do I need both? Do I need just one or the other? What does that look like? And medical power of attorney issues and paying for nursing homes, which, of course, you can get in the Medicare thing there. But point being is that not having legal representation draw up documents for you and tell you, here's what you need to do in order to make sure that you are getting back what it is that you have earned by paying into the system, and then getting all those legal documents drawn up so that you are protected. Consultation doesn't cost you anything. That's the great thing. So you can find all of that information out, and you're not having to pay in order to do that. Now, then once they explain based off of your particular situation, these are the documents, this is what needs to be done, here's what it will cost for us to do it, one-time fee, and then you decide if you want to do it or not. So it's that simple. 10 area locations, you can get signed up, and you can call them as well. All the contact info to get one of those free consultations is at ozarkselderlaw.com, also under Nick's endorsements at ksgf.com.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. An extreme heat warning is in effect until 8 p.m. Sunday for the entire listening area. And today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 99, heat index values as high as 107. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 76. For your Friday, sunny with a high near 100, heat index values as high as 108. And for Saturday, sunny with a high near 99.
There's a new Fox News poll. New matchup, same results. Maine Senate race stays locked. Of course, the Democrats' voters in Maine had overwhelmingly voted for Graham Plattner. And then when the party realized that it may cause a loss, they overthrew the election, just like they did with the presidential primary and caucus system last time around. This is something that Democrats are becoming increasingly comfortable doing, largely because their voters are okay with it. Apparently, defending democracy means overturning elections you don't like. And Graham Plattner, of course, was replaced with a Democrat who had sex with his own cousin, impregnated her, liked it so much he did it again. And apparently Democrats really love that also. And, I always thought that I love how the left, because culturally, they stereotype Southerners and country folk as being a bunch of people that have sex with their cousins. Here, this is Maine. And they managed to find what could be. I don't know how often people knock up their own cousins. I don't know that. How many do you think there are in Maine that are Democrat politicians? Probably one. Like that's, I would imagine.
They found him.
And they like this of all of the people. And of course, he's known to be abusive towards women as well. He's thrown things at females colleagues and so they, for whatever reason, particularly women, and it's liberal white women that appear to be his biggest support base. They love these guys that demonstrate abusive behavior towards women. Graham Plattner was the same thing. His biggest support base, liberal women. I can almost guarantee you Swalwell was similar. I mean, Bill Clinton, he was credibly accused of rape. I mean, and his biggest fan base, liberal white women. I don't know what it is about women that tell themselves, I guess because it's a mental disorder, they tell themselves that they can't stand toxic masculinity and men who treat women poorly, yet you serve one up as an option amongst many, and that they just gravitate towards it. And throw in knocking up your own cousin twice, and that apparently is bonus points in terms of the way white liberal women perceive it. Have you, speaking of, there has been floating around on the internet a montage of some of these lefty women of color like Ocasio-Cortez and Jayapala and Ilhan Omar and some others, and then for good measure, Don Lemon, of course, who's a former CNN, he's homosexual, and they rail against toxic white privilege, white male toxicity, and then it is a picture of each of them with their spouse and or boyfriend, and they're all white guys, every one of them. Kamala Harris is another one, and did you know? I mean, some of you may know this. Some of you may remember this. Her husband's also Jewish. I cannot wait to see how the anti-Semitic base of the party deals with that as she's running for the presidency. I think a lot of them don't know it. They kept that very, very quiet, you notice. You think about how, I'm kind of getting off path here because I want to talk about some of these polling numbers with the cousin lover and Susan Collins out there in Maine. But these Democrats that love to tout labels, to tout allegiance and alliances with this group or that group, they love to put people in silos. You know, oh, I've got an LGBTQ child or a trans child, or I've got this, or oh, Bill Clinton, the first black president. They love to throw that stuff around. Kamala Harris, you notice she never really ever touted or mentioned the fact that her husband was Jewish. I mean, the Jewish vote, there's a lot of Jewish people. While they clearly don't make up a majority in some of these states that are very, very close. That is a constituency that can potentially make a difference between a win and a loss. Yeah, Kamala Harris never really went out there. Did you ever see when the few times that she was bringing old Dougie up there on stage, or they're going into a gas station looking for Doritos? You notice he's never wearing a yarmulke? Or anything that would identify him as Jewish? So and don't think for a moment that the other candidates taking her on they won't come out and do it, but they'll make sure with the anti-Semitic base that they know. I mean, they'll utilize social media, they'll utilize these sort of guerrilla tactics in order to make sure that they question Kamala Harris's loyalty to the cause when she goes to bed at night with a Jew. But every one of these these women of color who will, during any sort of podcast discussion about the real problems in this country, that they will, in their assessment, feed into this narrative that white men, white privilege, that this is the real problem in this country, that it's more dangerous than terrorism. Yet, who is it that they choose to hook up with? Who is it they choose to marry? Consistently, also. It's similar to lefties claiming that they believe the coastline is going to be underwater because of global warming, yet they buy $1 million mansions and sit on the coastline. Or we all need to worry about pollution, we're destroying the planet, and then they get on their private jet that belches out more pollution than the average person does in an entire year just to go across the country to buy some sort of sneakers or to buy their favorite cheesecake. You people on the left, I don't know that there is a position that you take in terms of standards others should be held to or belief systems that you insist others buy into that you demonstrate through your actual lived experience that you don't even believe yourself. I mean, abortion might be the only one. That they love. They love that abortion stuff. But outside of that, everything else. All right, we're going to take a traffic update. And there is an interesting, actually, point I want to make about some of these numbers when it comes to who actually is the strongest support base for Susan Collins and who is the weakest support base for Susan Collins. I think you may find it interesting. That next, I'm Nick Reed. Oh, wait, never mind. It's like, this is where you do weather, idiot.
No,
and
it's
like,
not.
No, it's not.
Idiot.
I am an idiot.
But hey, speaking of weather, Foreman Mechanical Heating
Oh, yeah,
and Air.
that's what I was going to do.
Yes.
I was gonna throw it to you so you could talk about old Russell Foreman over there.
Have you seen Lori Rook lately? I feel like you have early onset dementia.
No.
You better get your affairs in order over there, pal.
I know. Well, once it gets to that point, it's too late.
You get down to like three levels. Isn't it 5 levels total?
Oh, I don't know.
Whatever.
I don't know.
Foreman
or maybe I do.
Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air. Hey, it's brutally hot out there, and those high temps, they are going to stick around into next week. And this is typically when AC breakdowns occur, and it's just because your system is running non-stop. If you've noticed AC issues, make sure to reach out to Russell and his team over at Foreman Mechanical. They are going to shoot you straight on the work that needs to be done. They do residential and commercial services, and they do have a 24/7 emergency service line because it never fails. Breakdowns always occur just at the worst time possible. Now, if it is time to have the Foreman team out to your home or to your business, reach out, schedule that appointment. You can do that at foremanmechanical.com. And of course, you can also find all of that contact information under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
We were talking in the previous segment about how so many of these extreme left-wing women of color that oftentimes suggest or flat out claim the biggest problem in our country and our culture today are white men and white privilege and mass white toxicity. Yet Ocasio-Cortez's, although it sounds like they broke up, her fiance was white. Ilhan Omar, her, not the brother that she married, but her current, whatever he is, white. Jalapai or Jalapai, I always say her name wrong. White. Don Lemon, CNN, white. I mean, you just go through all of them. They all pick white guys. Someone texted in on the Pyramid Roofing Company text line in Jayapal's case. Her husband is white and blind. Now, I didn't know that, but it makes sense if, I mean, not having to see her might be bonus. Because if you look at all of them and you're ranking them in order, she probably is not going to break out of the bottom 10%. There is one thing that does concern me about increasingly some of these chicks on the left, the real crazy ones. Some of them range from not bad looking to actually kind of hot. I've heard this discussion about Ocasio-Cortez. She can go both. Sometimes she looks like a horse or a mule. And in fairness, oftentimes it's pictures that are maybe from, a still shot from a video, which anyone can look bad when, their eyes are half closed or they're in the middle of talking and so their mouth is in a weird position and you take the still shot of a video. But she's not, I think, let me put it this way. I think most people don't think she's bad looking, maybe even good looking. The chick who's the nut job socialist from Somali that won the primary in Colorado, who unseated that 4-decade establishment Democrat, whatever, I forget what her name is. She's kind of hot. I think Ma'am Donnie's wife isn't too bad either. So and then for whatever reason, if you get a hot chick and she's a little crazy, it almost enhances it a little bit.
Isn't there a scale, like the hotter you are, the crazier you are?
Maybe.
I feel like that's a thing.
See, I don't know if I'm going to get myself in trouble on this or not, but I remember there was a period of time that it was at a caucus. This was years and years ago, and there was Ron Paul contingency. So that tells you how far back it was, and there were a lot of girls that were part of that. So they were kind of, they were the very libertarian girls. And I remember scanning the landscape of this caucus and thinking, that's interesting because the females within the Ron Paul grouping here in the caucus are disproportionately better looking than the overall female composition of all these other candidates. And then I also remember thinking, well, maybe it's because they're a little crazy that I think that. Like there's something about a libertarian gal. It's like, hey, it's that total independence. Keep off my back. Leave me alone. I don't know. There's something about that I think for a lot of guys, like, that's just a little bit hot, kind of a tough girl. And anyway, it does worry me that some of these extreme nut job lefties aren't the worst looking gals in the world, because you compare them to the traditional female Democrat. Now, incidentally, clearly I know what many of you are thinking, because it's true. That does not apply to the average lefty female that doesn't seem to care about personal hygiene. You know what I'm talking about at the different events and the rallies and so forth. I'm talking about those that end up getting recruited to run for office. And I think there's a deliberate, I think that's deliberate, that they are trying to find younger hot chicks to run for those positions. But it's a real difference between, the Hillary Clintons and the Nancy Pelosi's. And obviously, those are much older Democrats. But even when they were younger, I don't know. Anyway, I might just be out of my mind. All right, this poll, let me tell you, so this whole conversation started because of a new poll showing that essentially Susan Collins is still virtually tied, though the Democrat that replaced Graham Plattner, who knocked up his own cousin twice, is polling just barely a little bit ahead of her. And of course, liberal women, are they supporting the woman? Are they throwing their support behind Susan Collins? No. Suddenly, girl power, support women. Women supporting women becomes irrelevant. It's the white guy. That's who the left, the female left, is. That is the primary support base for, in terms of large demographics, for the Democrat candidate, Jackson. He tops Collins 2% points, 48-46. So again, margin of error. Among subgroups, Jackson, of voters who rate themselves 10 out of 10 on certainty to vote, Jackson edges up 4 points ahead. Roughly 9 in 10 partisans back their respective candidates, while independents narrowly prefer Jackson. Jackson's best group includes liberal women under the age of 35. Maybe it's the cousin thing they like. Maybe those liberal women have hot male cousins, and they're like, hey, kind of gives them permission to cross that line. So this was the thing I found to be most interesting and telling. When it comes to Susan Collins, who clearly is no fan of Donald Trump, clearly has attempted to make a brand for herself as an anti-Trump Republican. Almost all MAGA Republicans support Collins, but that drops to only 3/4 of support amongst Republicans who do not consider themselves MAGA. So what does that tell us? That tells us that, once again, someone who is a Republican who tries to expand their base by proving that they will buck the Republican Party, that they will come out here, I come out against Donald Trump, and they think that is a virtue that's going to help them. And in fact, she loses support. She has less support amongst Republicans who aren't, quote, Trump Republicans than she does Trump Republicans. So a lot of good that has done her, particularly when it comes to, it certainly hasn't won over any Democrats. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. some of your text messages. How I Met Your Mother is the show the hot crazy scale came from. So
Okay.
there is that. Someone else, I think this is pushing, well, I don't know who exactly this is in response to, but someone said, you are wrong. My wife is 100% hot and 0% crazy. So I'm not sure what
Maybe
was
she's an
wrong.
anomaly.
Well, I mean, you can be 100% hot and not be crazy. I just think for a lot of guys, if there is a little bit of, it's like salt. It enhances flavor, you know? Crazy acts like salt. And so if you have a girl who's a 5, she's a little bit crazy, then maybe she's a 6.5 or a 7. Now, not all guys are that way, obviously. And it's a certain kind of crazy, right? It isn't, well, I don't know. Every guy's
Now,
different.
what type of crazy do you mean
Well,
here?
see,
Like, I'm gonna slash your tires kind of crazy?
well, maybe. It may also depend. So there's probably a point where it lowers you as well. So if you're a 2 and you're crazy, then maybe you become a 1. But if you're a 7, I think it does enhance and you become it's like salt. Certain things it makes better and certain things it makes worse. This is very scientific and it's very intellectual.
Oh no, now my husband's texting.
Oh, be very, very careful, sir. Be very careful. News in 60 seconds. I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 1041, and welcome everyone. Tomorrow we got Friday Road Show. The Burleson folks will be out there while we're broadcasting live, buying you breakfast. You got a Burleson bumper sticker on your car. If you don't, they'll give you one. We have a happy hour Vineyard Market also. That is in Ozark 4 to 6 tomorrow. So just kind of giving you a rundown of things. Brookline Door Works, residential garage doors. Of course, that's the angle that I oftentimes, from a personal standpoint, talk with you. But commercial garage doors, very important as well. Heavy-duty doors, whether it is the installation of new and improved commercial garage doors or just routine maintenance or that emergency, even on a weekend, 2 o'clock in the morning, you have third shifters or whatever it may be, and maybe ambulance and spring breaks. What are you going to do? Well, 24/7 service. It's why fire departments rely on Brookline Door Works, because they know it doesn't matter when it is, somebody is on call regardless of the time, regardless of the day, regardless of the holiday. Also, residential commercial gates, loading dock doors. I mean, you sort of get the idea here how expansive it is, well beyond the residential garage doors. And, of course, openers and operators. If you're not aware, let me tell you something just real quickly, because this is what I have in my system, and it's not an exorbitant cost. So many people worry about porch pirates stealing Amazon packages off your door. They have garage doors now, and I have one of these. And so mine, whenever we get something on Amazon, it will ask us if we want to use I forget what it's called, garage key or something. And if you hit yes, what happens is the Amazon delivery person will get they will be able to open your garage door and put your package inside your garage, and then the garage door closes. And the opener itself films while it's doing it, because you're like, I don't want somebody having access. That they're on camera the whole time. And so if you have a lot of packages delivered and you have concerns about people stealing them off the porch, it is the perfect solution for that. We've used it. It's awesome. Anyhow, for that and everything else, garage doors, bay doors, security gates, BrooklineDoorWorks.com. Also under Nick's endorsements at KSGF.com. Christy Fulnecki, hey, how are you? What's up?
Good morning, everyone. Very exciting news in the Fulnecki house. I have a daughter who's engaged.
Look at that, getting them gone. Making now two of them are somebody else's problem now.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Not my problem.
Payroll.
That's at least until the actual. So are dates set yet?
Yes.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, our date's set. And I'll give those to you. I probably won't announce them.
Sure.
And where we'll be.
You
just
have
because
5 of these that you're
yeah,
gonna that you.
yeah.
So
well, my son, but we.
Well, yeah,
I
but
don't have to pay for that. But.
you shouldn't have to, especially after paying for. I mean,
Yeah, and Sarah and I talk about it all the time, but these kind of destination weddings, even locally, they're really nice, and I'm all for capitalism, but they're pretty expensive.
well, when you have 5 daughters, yeah,
I know, yeah.
I mean, if you have 1, maybe even 2, you're like, oh, it's worth it because but when you're talking about 5, it's like that's just not sustainable.
You didn't even think about is 2 of them getting married in the same year. I guess I never thought that was a possibility. And
I would really
like 7 weeks apart.
They should just do it on the same day.
Just
have it all. No. I'm telling you should do potluck. Just tell all the guests in lieu of gifts, bring potluck, and
that's
just
not going to work.
Do it out on your land. That's what I would do.
And
I know we could.
you have pretty land.
It would be.
Tell you, my kids would say no.
It would be cheaper for you to build a venue out there on your land than to pay for 5 separate wedding venues.
It actually would.
And then you can use it.
These places, I mean, they're so pretty. They have, barns. And actually, the place at Big Cedar, that's a barn. So, I mean, you could definitely build a barn. But, I mean, we looked at Kansas City, some of these other
So Sarah got married in a barn.
Yeah. Yeah, and
turned out
she was not born in a barn. She was married in a barn. That's
anybody knows this. I don't know if that's the case or not, to be honest with you. You may have to fact check that. You may have to fact check that later.
Okay.
She fell in the milk bucket.
Oh, all the Ozarkian sayings. No, but so this Kansas City venue that I guess it was in let's see, when my first daughter got engaged in June, when we had called, or no, July, maybe July. And for next year, all Saturdays, so for July of 26, all Saturdays for all of 27 were already booked.
Why Kansas City?
Well, we were just looking at different venues to compare.
Oh, okay.
Because they were looking at these. They're both getting married in Branson, but
Because I was going to say, Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor did that awesome patio for us. You could have it at our house.
oh, okay, thank you.
I'm sure it'd be
My mom
perfect.
just got your wife about that.
We'll rent a porta potty, put it out back. I mean, I don't want people coming into the house. We've got a big double gate on the back. They can come. Yeah, Butters. Yeah.
1,000 people that can be in there.
Well, it may be tight, but
it's crazy. I mean, so if anybody wants to make extra money and you have some land, build one of these things.
That's you.
Because, I know, I know. Yeah, it is me. Oh, my kids. When you come from a large family, they think that you need to have your own. They want to get married separate places. They don't. They want to be separate days. Obviously,
Sure, they want their own unique experience. I understand that. I'm not even a girl, and I understand.
Oh, and then so next year I have 2 weddings, and then I have 3 graduations. And then I found out 2 of my kids are graduating college on the same weekend, and they might even be graduating the same day. And then the following weekend, I have high school graduation. So then they were mad about that because they were like, well, I worked so hard in college and I have to graduate the same day. But
Probably would have actually been financially advantageous for you all to have daughters that were less successful and losers. No graduations, no marriages.
Listen,
Well, you just boot them out. But
Yeah,
even that may have been cheaper.
yeah. Well, my older 3, I have 2 future lawyers and 1 doctor. So
they'll
They'll
have
get it done.
and then
They're
they'll have
still-
the student loans to put on top of it. So
no, they're getting, scholarships.
all right, okay, you did it right.
Yeah.
Chris Fonecki with us. We've got weather in a moment. Latest news.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. An extreme heat warning is in effect until 8 p.m. Sunday for the entire listening area. And today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 99, heat index values as high as 107. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 76. For your Friday, sunny with a high near 100 and heat index values as high as 108. And for Saturday, sunny with a high near 99.
Marco Rubio sat down to do an interview with podcast host Katie Miller. I have no idea who that is.
Is he the press secretary now?
Yeah. Well, evidently she's got enough clout to get Marco Rubio to sit down with his wife.
Oh.
Yeah, with his wife, the Katie Miller podcast. And I grabbed a couple bits of the audio because the interview highlights such a stark difference between what I think represents so many people in the Trump administration, and Marco Rubio is a perfect example, is versus Democrats who, one of the things about the Democrats, everything is just so fake with them.
Yeah,
Everything is so fake. And their answers to things are fake. You just know it. The way they try to present themselves. And then you've got, Marco Rubio, and this is part of what stood out to me. And he's being interviewed here. And so I've got two clips. This clip, she's asking him what he thinks about RFK Jr.'s reported diet of red meat and fermented vegetables. So I guess there was some report that this is what RFK Jr. is part of his maha that eats red meat and cabbage. So she asked him, what his thoughts were on this diet.
Is RFK's diet of red meat and
this
fermented
is a crazy
vegetables?
diet. This is a diet that consists of eating sauerkraut and meat. Now, you understand, this is not a sustainable thing. You can't just walk into it.
Well, he sustains it because he does it.
Can you imagine? He has to travel with coolers of sauerkraut.
But he does,
I'm not going to travel the world with a cooler full of sauerkraut. It's ridiculous. I can't do it. It's not sustainable.
Are you Maha?
I'm in favor of Maha. I think people should be healthy.
No, he's not.
But I think ultimately, at the
He's
end,
completely not.
What to eat?
Pop-Tarts.
no, I don't eat Pop-Tarts every day.
Okay, you eat sweets.
Pop-Tart is one of the great American innovations in history. When you think about it, it comes in this beautiful foil
all the
package.
things you should not be eating. Every single thing.
Well, one, there's two
That's
things
really
about
funny.
it that is he is just being him. You can
He's
tell it.
authentic.
Yeah, he
Right.
is
Very
authentic, and you
authentic,
can't fake it. And you compare that to the Hillary Clintons and the hot sauce, and Hong up in Wisconsin goes from Thanksgiving should be eliminated to the week before the election. What's your favorite holiday? And she's like, Thanksgiving. It's just they're so disgustingly fake. And all of these Democrat socialists that they say all this stuff, and then whenever they're running for election, suddenly, oh yeah, no, I don't believe that anymore, or they dismiss it. And so here there's two components to this I like. One, he's being asked what he thinks about somebody else, like a person whose defined job in the White House, RFK Jr., is health. And so there's clearly a diplomatic answer to give to this. He's like, no, that's I'm not going to go around with a cooler of sauerkraut. That's insane. And so he just, that's what he thinks.
Love it.
He's not crafting an answer around what is the diplomatic thing to say. That's what he thinks. That's insane. Yeah, I'm going to travel around with a cooler of sauerkraut. Are you out of your mind? And then his wife accuses him of eating Pop-Tarts all the time. And he's like, well, no, I don't eat them all the time. And then he just starts explaining. He's like, but they are the greatest invention ever in American history.
Oh, I think that's so great.
Here he was asked, and I just tell you up front, this reminded me when Kamala Harris was running I guess on the ticket with Joe Biden, and she was asked what she listened to in college, and she claimed Tupac, even though she graduated 3 years before his first album was released. Just more of this
She
fake
couldn't think
crap.
of anything.
Yeah. Well, and then she was asked. She was asked. This was a separate interview, and I didn't realize. Here, she was asked who her favorite living rapper is. Her favorite rapper alive.
He lived on. I keep doing that.
So the podcaster tried to cover for her, but she's. This was just in the last few years, I think. She was asked. I mean, Tupac's been dead for a very long time.
I know.
So it's completely fake. Now, listen to Marco Rubio asked who his favorite rapper is. And just the difference between somebody that you know is full of crap versus someone that's giving an authentic answer.
Who's your favorite rapper?
Of all time?
Yeah.
I mean, just from an artistic standpoint, and where obviously he would never live long enough to know what he would have turned into, but Tupac was very, very talented. I thought, and he was actually very talented, not just, people forget, I mean, he was like trained to be an actor as well. I think he went to like that school in New York, or it was in Baltimore. I forgot exactly where he went to high school, but he went to an artistic high school, and you could see that later on when he played a number of roles in a number of movies over the years, including the one with Janet Jackson, that he was a good actor. He was a good lyricist in terms of the lyrics that he wrote. He left a lot of music, some of which has still not been released, that his family holds. So I thought he was a very talented person, primarily because I think he was a narrator more than anything else of a certain point of view and lifestyle, or upbringing and worldview. So I think of all time, he's probably my favorite. There's a lot of other very talented people.
And what a difference in answer.
Oh, wow. He's so articulate.
Well, but you can tell
really
he's
smart,
not
but-
he's not a fourth grader giving a book report on a book he didn't read.
Yeah.
Which is what Kamala Harris constantly was.
You
You
know-
can tell he actually knows what he's talking about, that he's not making this up to pander.
Yeah, and I always wondered why they can't just be themselves. And with Pocahontas, wasn't it? I always forget that one. It was a beer. Remember when she had the real,
Yes.
the close selfie or something?
He
and
was
she was
doing a video that is so,
so
in her
cringy.
kitchen, and
Yeah.
because it was so clear it was set up, she's talking and her husband walks through the kitchen. She's like, "Oh, hey, grab me a beer from the fridge." Like, it was just so painfully obvious that they're trying to figure out, how do we be a normal person? They
is
don't
so
know
weird.
how. As well, Chuck Schumer, when
Yeah.
he posted a picture of himself grilling and they were frozen burgers with cheese on top of them on the grill. Democrats are not normal people. They're just not, and I don't think they know who they are. I don't think they are a person, because they're constantly there's no centered person there. They are constantly trying to be what they think the audience wants them to be. And so I don't think that they actually are a single person. That I don't think that they have that in them.
Well, and why couldn't she say, I don't listen to rap music, so I'm not familiar with that, maybe, or something.
Well, because she's
and then go through and
black,
talk
and yeah.
something that you know. I mean, he said he's not trying to. I mean, he didn't know what high school or whatever he was quoting.
And he admitted
and then
he's like,
"You're honest. Like when you talk about something that you don't know. I don't know this, but this is my opinion of something. Maybe they don't have their own opinions. Maybe it's like a big cult."
He also he had remarked, I don't know if he had been asked your least favorite, and he's like, "Now," he goes, "There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not my personal preference, country music." But his wife, it's her favorite. And so,
really?
and
I
he
didn't
was,
know
he was like, "I just don't," he goes, "It's just," he's like, "It's just, you lost your wife and dog." And she's like, "That's not what it all is." She goes, "You need to listen to Morgan Wallace." He's like, "All right." You know what I'm saying?
I love that
Just
he's
being normal. JD Vance is the same way.
being down to earth versus kind of the elitist mentality, but
It is. It's
Well,
being a normal. It's just being a normal person.
well, if you look at Kamala and you look at Rubio, they're both attorneys. They're both. I mean, so they're educated, have similar education, but why is it that she sounds like such an idiot?
I think because she is an idiot. I know that seems like an overly simple answer, but I think she's an idiot.
You don't even have to be educated. You just give your opinion. I mean, that's the crazy thing to me. And to think, okay, it's one thing if you don't know what you're talking about, but then you put yourself in these positions and these situations to make yourself look bad. Like when she goes and talks to these professional basketball teams in locker rooms, and just why would you expose yourself to that?
I'm telling you, she genuinely, and she's not the only one, believes that she is smart, that people, because no one around her is going to tell her anything other than how wonderful she is. I go
Like a
back.
real idiot. I probably would not talk about that.
And
I probably would not give a speech to a professional basketball team,
it's
especially when they lose.
it's similar to what we suspected and then would learn subsequent to Joe Biden dropping out and people started talking, that he was lied to about his polling numbers. The people around him were telling him everything was great, everything was fine. Nobody was telling him what was really going on. And, I mean, who in Kamala Harris's world, because they're in denial as well.
Well, yeah,
they don't
that's
think she's an idiot, and because they're either brainwashed or they're idiots, or they just don't have any standards. They're on team good people and righteousness, and so that's all that matters. Because you listen to some of the absurd things she says, and the audience will applaud. And you're like,
mean,
what? She didn't even make any sense. If you were asked to repeat what she said in your own words, you would not be able to do it.
That's right. Yeah.
Because it didn't even make any sense, and you don't understand it. And so I don't think in any sort of flack she gets, that's just racism. That's racism. So she puts herself in these situations over and over again because I don't think she really realizes how normal people view her. And
Wow.
that's my...
Just certain things that they let their party get away with. I mean, Biden's debate performance. So you wait until, I mean, he looks like he's having a stroke on TV until you confront him and tell him he shouldn't run for president.
Oh, incidentally, did you hear Nancy Pelosi this week? I think she was sitting down with
saw that,
Politico.
yeah.
So she is still claiming that she had no idea there was anything wrong with him.
See, I had been speaker, and when I was speaker, I saw the president all the time. But when I wasn't, then I saw maybe 3 times that whole year. And so I didn't know. And I think he had his sort of ups and downs. And when when I saw him one time, he was giving me the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So that was a short event, and he was perfectly fine that day, I thought. And so I didn't know. But I do think that those who did know should have acted upon that information, whatever that means.
His staff and his family both, you mean?
Well, whoever knew.
Yeah.
Whoever knew. There's the staff saying the family knew, the family saying the staff knew. I don't know.
I love how
that makes me so angry.
I love how she advances from not only I had no idea, but well, clearly some people did, and they're the bad ones. You know what?
Okay.
And she's saying, well, I just wasn't around. I've never even been in the same room with Joe Biden, and I knew he was senile. Millions of Americans who have never met him, they could tell, not to mention the special counsel report that said he shouldn't be prosecuted for illegally leaking classified information because he's senile. That was
actually think the woman that does insider trading and has made like a gazillion dollars, that she actually believes this? I mean, that just makes me so mad. I mean, the woman is not an idiot. And so she doesn't even play it off well, that she didn't even understand what was going on.
Her face looks decent, though. I was watching that clip, and she's clearly had work done. It's not bad work.
She's a lot of
how
work
old
done.
is she?
Maybe she's close to 80. I mean,
I think she may be even older than that.
You think?
Yeah, but she's had the
86.
86 years
Oh,
old.
yeah.
86 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Her
She's
face,
that,
whatever work she's had. Well, Joy Behar's over 80. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, look up how old Joy
That's
Behar
crazy.
is. Joy Behar, she's, I think, at least 80. Yeah, she does. 83 years old.
Yeah, it's crazy. I did not.
The context here, she's not, to me, an attractive woman, but she looks really, really good in terms of that age. I know you're not supposed to say you look good for 83, but you would not guess her to be 83. Whatever work she's
Nancy
had.
Pelosi been in office. So you're telling me that this woman that's orchestrated all these events, and probably January 6th, and all of these major events in history, did not know that the leader of the party couldn't even tie a shoe?
This is a contradiction we constantly see with people on the left, particularly those that are labeled like Hillary Clinton, the smartest woman in the world, yet their excuse always is, I didn't know, like when it came to wiping her server, she's like, I don't even know what that, like with a napkin. And she claimed in her testimony that she thought that the C with a circle on it that, means classified, she thought that meant it was a copy, and that's why she was leaking it. And then Nancy Pelosi is supposed to be this brilliant, insightful woman. And she's like, I had no idea, Joe Biden. And so you have, and then the people who will claim they are some of the smartest, most intuitive women in the world will then be like, well, she just didn't know. Well, which
know,
is it?
really.
Is she an idiot or is she the most brilliant woman alive?
Have more respect for them if they said, yeah, we wanted him to be president so we could control
Right.
everything.
Yeah.
And we
Be
could
like,
give
of course we knew.
opinion.
What'd you want us to do? We're politicians. This is what we do. We got traffic coming up. Christy Fulnecki as well. Continuing on, I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First, meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by JNS Automotive. An extreme heat warning is in effect until 8 p.m. Sunday for the entire listening area. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 99, heat index values as high as 107. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 76. For your Friday, sunny with a high near 100 and heat index values as high as 108. And for Saturday, sunny with a high near 99.
Rosie O'Donnell did an interview with Amy Poehler, and she said that being gay is no different than being left-handed or having blue eyes.
What? Jeez. Oh. Why is
Now,
she...
it is different.
Isn't she going back to The View? She's going to The View or something?
Yeah, I think she's as a guest or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, why? I'm just so sick of seeing her.
She was at one of the other things she said, and it was a bit of a cell phone, though I don't think she realized it, she was talking about how Trump is just obsessed with her. I'm like, I don't really ever hear him talking about her unless I don't even know the last time.
About him
Nonstop.
constantly.
Nonstop.
She talks about him all the time.
I don't think I have seen any news story about her in the last 2 years that didn't revolve around her talking about him.
Yeah.
And I don't even know the last time that he talked about her. And when he did, it probably was because he was asked a question about her specifically, and he was answering it. And this is a pretty common character trait of people on the left is projection. And the fact that she doesn't even realize, like, are you serious? Like, you're saying that he's obsessed with you and talks about you? No, he doesn't. That's in your head. That is in your head.
Do you see what he does in a day?
Yeah.
And he's like sneaking out of countries and flying from here to there. I mean, you think he really gives...
But even like the Jimmy Kimmels and some of these others, they really believe they are that important.
Yeah.
And they do believe that. They think that Trump, to your point, the things that he's doing and juggling and the people that he's dealing with and the things that he's dealing with, the constant... But in their minds, they're so narcissistic. They think that he spends his days sitting around thinking, and they think that I bet Rosie O'Donnell, in her mind, she has created this world in which he is talking about her every day. I bet she has. I bet she genuinely believes that level of delusion. But this being gay is no different than being left-handed or having blue eyes. And listen, this isn't to cast judgment, but the fact of the matter is, it is different because heterosexuality, if it were not for that, humans would cease to exist.
Yes, right. That's correct.
And
that's what they call science.
Yes. And so not participating in that is not participating in what is necessary for the existence of humanity. Now, that's just, a fact. And I know that, well, we could do this and we could do that and adopt. But I'm just talking about the biology of it. This is how we continue to exist. It's how animals continue to exist. It's how living things continue to exist. You mate. And so to claim that not being part of that continuation of humanity is no different than just your eye color, that's very, very different. If that's like saying if people have blue eyes and then all of a sudden they like decided to wear like contacts, suddenly the world would change and all. No, it wouldn't. But if we like, let's say you took everyone who is heterosexual and everyone suddenly became homosexual, then you'd cease. Humanity would cease to exist because you would not be procreating. But if you took everyone with the blue eyes and suddenly, gave them contacts where they were brown eyes, nothing would change in life. Yeah. Everything would continue to go on.
They even covering her saying these stupid things.
Because she hates Trump.
No,
I mean, that's why all of these people are one-trick ponies. She did say something that was true to some degree, but she had it a little bit backwards. She was claiming that Trump, she's like, I told my kids that Trump made me re-famous. And I'm like, no, you have made yourself in your world relevant again because you're constantly talking about Trump.
Right. And that's why they're...
So Trump's existence has pulled you out of irrelevancy, but not because, again, he isn't out there talking about you all the time. It's because you are preaching to a choir.
Yeah, these people delusional.
Yes, they are. And they're just so miserable. This is, I was thinking about this with El Sayed up there in Michigan, and there has been some coverage of the fact that he has in the past been on video or made postings that he hates the 4th of July, and he hates the Mackinac Islands up there that are like this local thing, and that hate. And then there was a gal recently, and I don't know if she won or not. She was running for a primary in Congress in some state, but she had talked about how much she hated the people of that state. She wished she lived back in California, all these things. And you just look at whether it's the Rosie O'Donnells or the El Sayeds, or they just find these things that they don't like. Everything is negative.
I know, right? And like Hong,
there's no
when she
was
talking about all
Thanksgiving.
It's
anytime they are giving their opinion or assessment about a place or a people or an event, it's always negative.
Yeah.
There's no, these people are unhappy,
Yeah, they're
miserable
so
people.
depressed to
Even
talk about all this stuff.
when the people they want in power get in power, they're still miserable. They're
Yeah.
still unhappy. They're still out there protesting. I mean, you look at when Obama got elected president. Oh, it was the greatest thing ever. The left-wing people were still miserable and complaining about everything.
Yeah,
I mean, the
know.
George
Yeah.
Floyd riots took place, or no, it was Ferguson.
Yep,
That was
Ferguson.
So there's still left wingers running through the streets, burning down cities because of how horrible things are. It's like zero things make them happy
Yeah.
other than destroying people that are their enemies. That gives them these brief hits of happiness. It's like a drug injection, but that's short-lived, because if your happiness is dependent on other people's misery, one, you're just a bad person, but two, that's very short-lived. I mean, that
But
goes
there
away.
would be nothing for them to run on. I mean, they're running on hate and how much
Oh,
they
yeah.
hate the Republicans. So what
well,
what
and-
else? I
and
mean,
the
they don't have
country.
any other ideas.
How bad the
So-
country is, how
right.
bad the police are, how bad ICE is, how
Yeah.
bad this is, how bad capitalism is, how bad wealthy people. You're right. Everything they campaign on is dependent on people being angry, jealous, mad, and upset.
Because they can't say, "Hey, I want a bunch of crime, and I want all these illegals here." So, I mean, I guess that would be unpopular. So they're saying we hate ICE, you know. So, but in effect, is causing crime and everything else. So what are you going to run on?
And meanwhile, the other side, while they identify problems, it's all in the context of, we can fix these things because we're the greatest country ever. Americans are the greatest people. Culturally, we have this diversity and all of these wonderful things, the innovation. You really saw this, the beginning of this defined difference between people that aren't on the left and people who are on the left, when Obama was out there running around saying Americans aren't exceptional. There's nothing exceptional about
Right.
America.
Mhm.
And then, just bitching about everything in America. Well, we're built on this and we're built on. I mean, they just complain about
I know.
everything. Everything. There's nothing
And
at all that they find
yeah.
positive.
And that is not inspiring. That does not inspire me.
And why would you want anyone to lead any organization, any company, or any country that everything is always negative? You're finding the negative in it. You never
And like
never
you employees
improve.
suck.
You never negative people never make things better. They just don't.
Yeah, that's true.
People who make things better are naturally positive individuals. Now, that doesn't mean they're Pollyannish. It doesn't mean that they ignore the bad things that are going on, but they recognize the positives and then they work towards improving things so that we can have a more positive environment. But it doesn't, you look at the left and in their minds, they say, well, we want to do that too. When have you ever been happy with any outcome that you have pushed for?
Yeah.
They're never happy about it. They may in the very moment, only because they felt like emotionally, we stuck it to the other guy, but that goes away because it's a centered thing, not to sound new age-ish or anything. I think there have been numerous studies on this that consistently find people that are conservative and oftentimes Christian as well.
Right.
They are just more mentally healthy. They are genuinely joy-filled people. It doesn't mean that they don't have bad days, but the baseline is a happiness, whereas people on the left, the baseline is an unhappiness.
And a perfect example is that Hong. Thank goodness she lost, because I mean she is out. I mean she is crazy. But everything she says is so negative. And talking about white people, I'm like, you are in Wisconsin and you're talking about how much you hate white people. I mean, are you kidding me?
But it's always negative. See the worst in people. It's just, what a miserable way to live. And you see that Hassan Piker, which it's insane to me that Democrats think, all right, this is our answer to Joe Rogan. Like, first off, Joe Rogan is still a lefty, but he's just a normal person that asks questions, and he doesn't pledge obedience and alliance to one political party. And he's not Hassan Piker. I mean, that guy, he's an emotional toddler and an angry one at that. I mean, he was going off at her losing. And I mean, it's almost uncomfortable to see an adult human being, particularly an adult man, throw a temper tantrum. And you think, People like this, these are when these people get in charge, because that's the same behavior pattern as somebody like Kim Jong-un or Saddam Hussein or Saddam Hussein's sons, any sort of crazed dictator. That's why they kill people and imprison people, because they're emotional toddlers. And when they don't get their way, they're angry and they want to punish the people that they don't like. And you can see that personality trait in these people on the left. It's this anger and this awful bitterness. Christy Fulnecki with us, traffic update. I'm Nick Reed. Some text messages on the Pyramid Roofing Company text line. We were talking about Nancy Pelosi and how, for her age, her work that she's had done isn't too bad. We've been talking about some very important things this morning. And Joy Behar, Joy Behar, 84 years old. She doesn't look like it. But text message, it's the blood of virgins. That's why those women look so passable. I like how he says passable. Like, not giving them credit for looking good, despite the blood of virgins that they bathe in. It allows them to bump up to passable. I think Nancy, regarding her still claiming she had no idea Joe Biden had cognitive issues, I think Nancy saw President Biden more than she knows, but she was drunk and doesn't remember seeing him. That's why she thought he was normal, was because he was talking to her drunk language. Nick, we're playing the difference in responses regarding best rapper between Kamala Harris and Marco Rubio earlier. Nick, let's be honest, the best rapper of all time, Beastie Boys.
Ooh.
Yeah? So I wonder if anyone...
I like Eminem.
I was going to say Marshall Mathers would be one that some people would also... What about Vanilla Ice?
Oh, Vanilla Ice. I forgot about Vanilla Ice.
When I was in college, he performed... He was in Springfield, I remember, downtown. I forget what the venue was.
Our guys used to try to get their hair to look like Vanilla Ice when we were young.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I'm sure I could have pulled it off, though.
It's just the cool kids, Nick.
So AOC, there's been... I'm going to ignore that.
It was not Nick Manhattan.
So there's Ocasio-Cortez. Increasingly, there has been talk that she and her fiance that they broke up. So she was asked as she exited her Queens apartment building about her split from her longtime fiance. And her response was, quote, "I don't comment on my private life, thank you." Now, this is a woman that just recently posted a video of herself injecting whatever in order to freeze her eggs and
Freeze
going
her
on
eggs.
and about
That's
it. Which
one of my kids told me about
Yeah.
that. I was like, "Are you serious? She's freezing her eggs
this
in case
is
she runs for president." Was that why?
who no. It's all marketing. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier, the difference between some of these people like J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio and the likability factor, because they're just who they are.
Which
they're authentic. And then
what are you going to freeze your eggs so you can have an abortion?
That's what.
You're going to freeze your eggs so you can go and kill him?
That's probably.
I mean, jeez.
And their twisted mind. I could see that
Yeah.
being so that she could really give her street cred that
Right.
I've killed my own daughter as well. So, you can count on me. But this is the lack of authenticity again. You go on social media in order to talk about something that is very personal, which that's fine. You want to do that, but then don't turn around and refuse to answer a question based off of, quote, I don't comment on my personal life. Clearly you do.
Yes, I know.
Now, and if you don't want to comment on this, fine. Just say that. Say, I don't want to talk, or say, I don't comment on my personal relationships. Okay, that's what, but to say that you don't talk about your personal life, these people are just such liars.
Yeah,
You just want to take a sack of Jelly Bellies and just swing it over your head or like take pantyhose and fill it with Jelly Bellies. No, jelly beans, the big ones, and just hit her upside the head, idiot.
Said sometimes she looks good and sometimes she looks
I think
bad.
she
but
can look good
I mean, I don't know. I guess she's okay, but
Let me put it this way: I've dated chicks that did not look as good as she does.
yeah, okay. Well, I don't know what kind of standard we're gonna use with that, but is this drag?
I got a wide range. I got a wide spectrum.
It sounds like it.
And clearly, for a lot of women that dated me, they also had a wide spectrum.
But
no, I always did.
When she speaks and when she talks, it's so annoying. Again, it's it feels like when she's talking that she has a hollow brain. That there's no there that she's just like Kamala.
I've long felt that it is a massive disservice in terms of projecting our image to the world about the level of intelligence of American women, because the media sends out these messages that people like Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris and The View, that these women are intelligent women that should be listened to. I'm like, that is what you're telling the world, that is a representation of the best and brightest American women we have? That is...
Well, that's why the smart women are Republicans.
Well, but what does the media do? The media downplays them. They ignore them.
Yeah.
They treat them like they're idiots. And that's not to say every Republican woman is the most brilliant woman ever. But you look at the women, I'm just talking about the ones that they hold up. And they did it for a while with, what's her name, who ran for governor down in Georgia. She was an idiot.
Oh, yeah.
Again, Ocasio-Cortez. Now she does a better job now. I think Bernie Sanders has been mentoring her. She is learning. But Hillary Clinton, an example, and Kamala Harris, and to put those people, and then ABC have this program that they still promote as news programming, The View, and broadcast that and say these are the brightest women that we can find to talk. What does that tell the world?
Right.
I mean, it certainly does not paint American women in a very good light. Christy Fulnecki, not like you, of course.
Well, I just want to tell you, speaking of making American women look bad, is this Massachusetts governor and this whole signing of this abortion thing.
Demonic.
It is. It totally
is no
it's
different.
so evil.
It is no different than if social media existed during the socialist reign in Germany and they had a big signing and ribbon cutting ceremony for Dachau and Auschwitz, and they all applauded. It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Many of those women kids that were
They probably do. Some of them probably killed them.
so sick.
Christy Fulnecki, all right. Thanks for ending things on a light note. As always, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Got Author of the Week coming up in the next hour, plus, some other things, I'm sure. Friday Road Show tomorrow at Scramblers. Burleson folks will be out there. You've got a Burleson Buckbear sticker on your vehicle. They're going to buy you breakfast. They'll get you a sticker if you don't have one. They usually have T-shirts as well if you want to grab one of those. And then we will have happy hour, Vineyard Market, 4 to 6. And that's just time to hang out. There's no reservations needed. You don't have to be there at 4 and then officially end at 6. It's just kind of a come and go as you please. Chance to hang out, have some drinks if you want, have some food. That will be Vineyard Market, 4 to 6 tomorrow. Springfield's Talk 104.1. Hey, everyone. Welcome. My name is Nick Reed. We got Author of the Week coming up. Sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. If you thought you missed your opportunity to join us for the upcoming Great Escape, sponsored by HVAC Masters, you are in luck. There's actually a couple. There was one that opened up. We were down to, let me explain how these patterns go. Whenever we launch, the first week and a half to 2 weeks, boom, sell well over half. And not long after that, we pretty much max out. And then we just pull back a little bit. And there's usually 2 or 3 rooms that are still available because we haven't been promoting it so much. And then, around this time, with a few months left until the reservations are needed, we start bringing it up again. And so we are at that point with a couple rooms left. And seats on the flight or chartered flight there. If you felt that you perhaps missed your opportunity or somehow you're out of the loop and you hadn't heard us talk about it and promote it, but you would like to join us, I'm telling you, you will have an incredible time. And part of what's great about it is the trip is planned out for you. We all get on the shuttles from the hotel if you want to do the hotel thing, the night before. We leave from St. Louis, and then we get on our chartered flight together, and then when you arrive, we get on our chartered buses together, and they take us to our all-inclusive resort. It's the Rio Palace, Macau. Is it Rio Palace?
Yes.
Yeah. Rio Palace, Macau, Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, May 24th or April 1st. And then we all kind of check in together, and then you can hang out with us or go do your own thing or do a little bit of both, whatever you want to do. Of course, we do the show while we are there. And the cost, for the junior premier suites is just, I think, $19.99 per person. That covers everything. That's your airfare. That's 7 days of all you can eat and all you can drink and all the fun you can have. It's just, there's something if you've never done an all-inclusive, I'm telling you, to have it all paid up front and then not have to take your wallet anywhere, go into a restaurant, eat your heart's content, go into a bar, have whatever drinks you want, and walk out. And that's it. The first day or two, it takes a little bit of getting used to if you've never been to a resort. It just feels weird to have, some gourmet meal and high-end whiskey or whatever it is that you're going to have, and then you just leave when you're done or leave while you're still drinking it. Walk out of the bar with your drink in your hand. It's a fun, almost very liberating thing, and it's something that we find about 80% of people that go on these trips have been on previous trips because it is such a great time. You, for $250, can reserve that slot. Final payment's not due until November, so you've got that. So again, kind of at that point where with the last few rooms still available, because we always do, and we'll have our capacity, which is generally limited because of seats on the plane, is I think around 76 or 78, somewhere around there. So with those few slots left, it's around that time that we start promoting it again. Go ahead and get those closed out so that we'll have once again a full group sold out. All the details for that upcoming Great Escape in the spring are at ksgf.com, including how it is to reach out to Cam and go ahead and get yourself all set up for it. Latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. An extreme heat warning is in effect until 8 p.m. Sunday for the entire listening area. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 99, heat index values as high as 107. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 76. For your Friday, sunny with a high near 100, heat index values as high as 108. And for Saturday, sunny with a high near 99.
Before traffic and Great Escape Author of the Week, wanted to read to you something, Chad. I love this review regarding Emily Johnson. Emily, hands down, best real estate agent we have ever worked with. Highly recommend her to anyone searching for a home in the Springfield area. Our journey to find the right home was challenging, but Emily was always patient, kind, and proactive, going above and beyond every step of the way. Her extensive knowledge of the area, that being Springfield, Nixa, Republic, Willard, Ozark, Stratford's housing market, neighborhood dynamics, and local resources was remarkable. When we needed contractors to upgrade our new home, she knew exactly who to call and made sure the entire process was stress-free. Emily also handled all of our paperwork with great attention to detail, and her expert negotiation skills secured us a fantastic price on our new home. If you want an agent who truly cares about your needs, choose Emily Johnson. You will not regret it. You know, buying a new home should be fun and exciting. And there's nothing worse than having all that ruined by an agent that leaves you hanging, that's not attentive, that leaves you filled with stress to where you can't wait for the process to be over. And then by time you've gone through what feels like the ringer, you're not even enjoying the new home any longer, or having that new home. And Emily Johnson not only allows that excitement to continue to exist, she enhances it. And that's what you hear from reviews of people who have utilized her for buying and selling homes. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. And I'm Nick Reed. Thursday means Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. Our author, Scott Greer, award-winning writer, author, podcaster, and host of the highly respected podcast, and author of White Pill, The Online Right and the Making of Trump's America, and the Amazon best-selling No Campus for White Men. We're talking about his latest, White Pill. And I want to read here for the listeners part of the description here, and it notes that you trace how forgotten traditions of the right, like paleoconservatism and early internet libertarianism, collided with new digital movements such as the alt-right and neo-reaction to forge the intellectual atmosphere that made Trump possible. I'm going to ask you to really dumb this down.
That makes some sense. Well, what they're talking about with paleoconservatism and early libertarianism is basically Pat Buchanan and Ron Paul. There are two presidents, their presidential campaigns for Pat Buchanan in the 90s and then Ron Paul in 2008 and 2012, which inspired a lot of people and got certain issues out there. And they didn't carry on into the mainstream of the GOP, but they still have their audience. And so paleoconservatives refers to those people who aligned with Pat Buchanan's campaigns in the 90s. There were some magazines, such as American Conservative Chronicles magazine, that were expressing those viewpoints, along with, and libertarianism, obviously many institutions and magazines proposing those ideas, along with Ron Paul himself and other lawmakers. So that's what's referring to it there. Now, with the alt-right and neo-reaction and some of this other stuff, all these things are online trends, and the book documents how these movements that aren't even really movements. They're just some things on the internet. They're in chats and forums and certain sites like 4chan and Twitter, and that they didn't really have much political influence. But when it came to the 2016 campaign and them being the only online supporters of Trump, that they gained all this political influence and influence over conservatism, because Trump, when he came down the escalator, he didn't have a lot of conservative institutional support. A lot of the conservative media was opposed to him. Even Fox News was skeptical of him. And he came down, but he was connecting with the base. So the only supporters he really had were these random people on the internet with a wildly divergent views who were all coming around and supporting him for a variety of reasons, but what they shared in common was opposition to the conservative Republican establishment, as well as support for immigration restriction and feeling something wrong had happened to the country and something radical and dramatic was needed to take that country back. And so that is the story of my book, and what some of these terms are referring to that maybe the average listener might be unfamiliar with.
If it were not for the state of the internet and the usage of the internet and its play in our culture at that moment when Trump rode down the escalator, do you think he still would have won, or was that something 100% necessary in order for him to win?
It's 100% necessary for him to win. He couldn't have won the presidency in the 90s and the 80s when you had a much more controlled media environment, because you have to look at what the normal mainstream establishment media environment was talking about him. Even places like National Review were talking about him. They all imagined that this is the devil, that this is the worst thing to ever happen to American politics. How could any person want to support Trump? And the average person relied on these media outlets a lot more for their news and information in the 90s and 80s and 2000s than they did in the 2010s. And so due to the new media environment where you had internet sites, and it wasn't just random people. I mean, even though a lot of it is about random people on the internet, my story, it was also sites like Breitbart, Daily Caller, this new conservative media that's online based that also helped Trump, because they were more favorable to Trump, or at least more objective towards Trump, what he was saying. They weren't like foaming at the mouth and losing their minds over every Trump statement. And more people were turning to this information and have more freedom and control over what news and information they had in 2016 than they did 20 years before. And I think that was absolutely a crucial factor in him winning in 2016. And it was also a factor in why he didn't replicate that success in 2020, because one of the arguments that they make for 2020 not being a fair election is how the internet was rigged to suppress Trump supporters, that it was very hard to find pro-Trump commentary, and it would get you banned from the internet and banned from these social media platforms in 2020, because all these big tech outlets and Democrats and liberal commentators knew that the state of free speech on the internet, this new media environment had helped Trump win in 2016. And they were like, never again. We've got to suppress this and have more censorship because this allowed Trump to win in 2016. So I think it was absolutely 100% a necessary factor, is that he could have not been a serious presidential contender in years past before we had the internet.
We're talking with our author of the week, Scott Greer, their book, White Pill, The Online Right and the Making of Trump's America. The opposite paths that, to me, the relationship between the parties and their voters have been on now, I find quite fascinating. The Democrats, seemingly as voters, just are very obedient to the party establishment, although you've got this, response to that with the far left and the socialists in the Democrat Party. But we're talking about, a party that told voters vote for Joe Biden despite whatever senility there may be there. And then when it turned out that it wasn't going to work so well, they're just like, you know what, we're going to tell you now to vote for this gal, Kamala Harris. And they're like, okay. And then Graham Plattner sort of overturning that election. Meanwhile, my first presidential election that I voted in was Clinton versus Bush. And as an individual that was young and would vote Republican, was always essentially told and observed the Republican voters doing exactly what the party said. Bob Dole, you got to vote. Actually, it was Dole Clinton, my first presidential election. And Bob Dole, he's the statesman. He's the one who can reach across the aisle. So you got to vote for him. John McCain, same thing. Mitt Romney, same thing. And it seemed as if the voters always were compliant. And then Trump came along, and suddenly the voters were like, you know what? I mean, even when you had elected Republicans saying, I'll vote for Hillary Clinton if he is the nominee, Republican voters just turned it all upside down and said, no, you know what? We're in charge of this now. And so as you explain the internet play in this, all of that seems to really come together. And I wonder how much of the existence of the internet and the play in the 2016 election was a small group of Trump supporters reaching out and capitalizing on Republican voters that were dissatisfied versus this organic meeting place in which instead you had all of these dissatisfied Republicans that were like, hey, wait, there are a lot of other people out here like me, and Donald Trump is the natural pick for us.
I think it was mostly organic. I think it was people just came together for it because there wasn't much, the Trump campaign, as you might remember in 2016, was very bare bones to say. I mean, even calling it bare bones might be an understatement. There wasn't many people involved in that campaign. And there were these claims that I remember when Trump began getting all this online support, and this is back in the day when the internet was far less bot heavy than it is today. And all these people were so mad and upset that he had fans. It's like, this has to be all bots. There can't be real people supporting Trump. But it was real people. And it was people being told, you can't support Trump. He's a racist. He's a demagogue. He's a bigot. He's all these terrible things. How can you support him? And they supported him anyway because their dissatisfaction with Republicans, with politics in general, with the Obama administration. They felt that he was the only one reflecting that dissatisfaction. And I think it was mostly organic. And even for a lot of the story of what I describe as the online right, there was not a coordinated effort at all with deciding that they're for Trump. They just all suddenly said one day, it's like, hey, this guy is against all the same things we're against. This guy is also really entertaining. He's really funny, unlike other politicians. He is speaking to this populist backlash that no one else is. We're going to support him. And it was more of an organic effort just emanating from the internet itself and from the Republican base that provided that support for Trump. There was nothing. I mean, you could say that some of these people that they decided on their own to be Trump supporters, and then they tried to engineer their own meme campaign, you could say, on the internet. But I think the support itself was organic, and these were people doing this on their own. There was no connection with the Trump campaign, no connection with the GOP, not even really connection with any other people besides like a group chat of Trump supporters on the internet. It's like, hey, I put out this meme. Isn't this cool? That's basically it. So it was mostly an organic force emanating from the base and from the internet.
It seems as if the second time around, or I guess the third time around, his second win, they attributed some of Trump's embrace of some of these podcasters and social media to his son Barron, saying, "Hey, you've got to do this." But as you noted, that first 2016 around that, clearly the internet was instrumental, if not necessary, and the way that it was used in order for him to win. Was he in the right place at the right time, and what he was, it just clicked with the current environment, or did he recognize what existed in terms of the internet and the usage of it and these different factions and utilize that to his advantage knowingly?
Are you saying this about 2016 or 2024?
Well, let's do both, 2016 and 2024.
Well, in 2016, he was aware of the anger of the base that was going on within the Republican Party, and he had some awareness of Breitbart and the way conservative media was working. The main thing he understood is that there was a lot of dissatisfaction with the base, and there was a lot of anger, and he recognized that no other Republicans were adequately addressing it. He also realized that there was one issue that none of the other candidates were going to talk about, and that was immigration. And so he utilized that. I don't know if he quite understood the nature of the internet and how it would help him, but he was aware that there was this new conservative media environment with all these internet sites popping up, and it wasn't just all shaped around Fox News and a few other conservative institutions, that there was much more openness and options and opportunities in 2016 than there would have been in 2008 or 2004 or 2000. So I think he had some awareness of it, but what he's mostly aware of was the dissatisfaction and anger on the GOP base and how the establishment wasn't really addressing it. In 2024, he had more awareness of this. And his son, Barron, getting him linked up with these podcasters, or as the term is used, as broadcasters, because pretty much most of these podcasters are young men and their audience is young men, and they're very bro-y, and they're usually not very political. They're comedy podcasts, and they talk about sports and stuff like that. And he realized that this was an untapped market for him to go into, and that a lot of these guys, they didn't like woke, they didn't like what the Biden administration was done, they didn't like the establishment, weren't really politically formed, but they were open to Trump. And Trump just had to go on their podcast and talk about sports, show himself as a normal guy, talk about normal things, and that was enough to win over this demographic. And the support he got from young men in 2024 was instrumental to his victory in that race. So, and a lot of that played, and those broadcasters, Joe Rogan, Andrew Schultz, a lot of these, Theo Vaughn, some of these people have turned on Trump since then. They did help him win in 2024. And that was part of the outreach. And I think he was also much more aware of the memes and internet supporters, or at least his campaign was, in 2024 compared to 2016.
We were talking with our author of the week, Scott Greer, White Pill, the Online Right and the Making of Trump's America. The loss of control of the party by the establishment due to the playing field of the internet, is this the same thing the Democrat Party is going through now with the DSA?
A little bit. There are a lot of similarities between that, because the DSA is also supported a lot by these new independent media outlets, or figures, or influencers and streamers. Hassan Piker is obviously the most important face, or most well-known person of that. And they don't have control of it in the same way that they had control over MSN Now, CNN, the mainstream media. And now they have all these podcasters, Young Turks and others, who are promoting the DSA candidates. And this is resonating with their base in a way the establishment Democrats now don't like. Now, the difference between the Democrats and Republicans is that Democrats have these built-in structures and interest groups that can help establishment candidates win in a way the Republicans don't. Because let's say there's an outsider candidate who emerges, but the labor unions don't like him. Now, that wouldn't be the case for DSA, but let's just assume this is the case. If the labor unions don't like them, that person's not going to win a primary because unions are going to ensure that that person doesn't win. And what we saw last night, this would be, or not last night, but this week in Wisconsin with Francesca Hong losing to David Crowley, is that it is a sign that the city machines in Milwaukee and a few other places were able to get out their voters, which maybe we'll see whether those were actual people.
Right.
They were able to get out those voters to ensure that the outsider lost. They have built-in interest groups and structures to help the establishment win. Even if you look at how Joe Biden won in 2020, the primary, it looked like Bernie Sanders was going to go on and win the primary. And then South Carolina went for him just because James Clyburn endorsed Biden, and that got those establishment constituencies to ensure that they rallied around Biden, and then Biden cruised to victory. And so they're able to they have these built-in constituencies where certain political figures can control them and ensure that the establishment candidate wins, or the person that they don't want to win loses, in a way that Republicans don't, because we don't have like a labor union equivalent on the Republican side. The closest equivalent we would have had was the religious right in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, which the religious right isn't as powerful or as much of a force in Republican politics. That's not to say that evangelicals and religious voters are not important, but in terms of like a central body, like
marching orders,
giving them marching orders, you don't have that. Republican politics is much more determined by individuals deciding on their own who they're going to vote for, which allows for outsiders to win when it's much harder for that to happen to Democrats. But the DSA is still able to appeal to certain parts of those constituencies, whether it's, the young liberal activists in the cities. They're able to win over some of the labor unions. They're able to win over some of the immigrant constituencies in these cities. They're able to do that, but they still come up against these forces that exist within the Democratic Party that don't exist within the Republican Party.
Our author of the week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone, Scott Greer. The book again, White Pill, The Online Right and the Making of Trump's America, for Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed.
This is your home for Town Hall SRN.
If you need a home loan, you got the Carrickers in their team. That includes refinancing, reverse mortgage situations as well. And if you are continuing to rent because you're waiting for that right moment, or you think that your credit isn't going to allow you to do what you need to do, maybe you fear that you don't have enough money to put down on a new home, and those are the reasons, these self-imposed roadblocks that are keeping you from exploring home ownership options, reach out to the Carrickers. The rules of yesterday are not the rules of today. Alex Carricker was telling us recently that there are still people that think you need 20% down in order to buy a home, and that is not anywhere close to the case. And he noted that there are many instances you don't have to have anything to put down under certain circumstances, and they're not like this 1 in a million circumstance either. So just any reasons you believe you may not be there, or maybe your credit isn't where it needs to be, they can help you. There are people that charge in order to help you improve their credit. They can look at your credit and be like, if you do these things here, then in this period of time, your credit score should get where it needs to be in order to qualify you. So you can get that information to help you tremendously, just as a service they provide. So don't put those restrictions on yourself. If now some people just like to rent and they have no interest in home ownership. That's a different situation. I'm talking to those of you that maybe are renting because you just think you have no other option. Reach out to them, find out what is possible for you, and then you will know, and you can make a decision that's best for you. iwantagreathomeloan.com, because you do.
Fields Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. An extreme heat warning is in effect until 8 p.m. Sunday for the entire listening area. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 99, heat index values as high as 107. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 76. For your Friday, sunny with a high near 100 and heat index values as high as 108. And for Saturday, Saturday, sunny with a high near 99. And the Pyramid Roofing Company, the extreme heat, it can be very damaging to your roof, especially if you have an older roof or one that was installed incorrectly. It can lead to shingle blistering, nail pops, ventilation issues, and so on and so forth. Now, if you do have an older roof and you haven't had a roof inspection in a while, I do recommend that you reach out to Josh over at the Pyramid Roofing Company. They offer free roof inspections, and if you do need a brand new roof, they offer discounts for our military and our first responders on those new roof installs. So to schedule that free roof inspection, like I said, just reach out to Josh, schedule that appointment. You can find all of the contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at KSGF.com.
The story actually I had yesterday, but did not get a chance to get to it. It was from Ozarks First, and it was regarding the latest update with the City Council in Bolivar moving forward at the request of citizens to sever the relationship with the Flock Camera Company. And the story read, and again, this was published, it was either the night before last or yesterday. Bolivar city leaders moving forward with efforts to stop using the city's Flock cameras, giving the company at the time 48 hours to respond to the city's latest request. During the Bolivar Board of Aldermen meeting Tuesday night, August 11th, city leaders discussed their options for getting out of the agreement with Flock Safety. Now, this came, again, on the heels. They had entered into an agreement. They got a $55,000 grant as part of this. The citizens came to them overwhelmingly saying, we don't want these in our cities. And the city council responded in a way that most citizens in their respective cities are not accustomed to, and that is, all right, you elected us, and we're going to do what it is you want us to do. We are going to represent you, and if that means having to cut a check for $55,000 to get out of this thing, we're going to get out of it. It's just like, it's so wrong that is such an unusual response from a city council to actually respond to the citizens, and so quickly. The city plans to send the company a cease and desist letter, which, again, I'm sure they did already because this story a day or two old, regarding its data, ask whether the cameras can be covered while the city works through the process of ending the agreement. I mean, you talk about getting it done. They're not, even, it would be acceptable and praiseworthy if the city was moving forward and said, hey, listen, we've got to keep these up until we figure out what we're allowed to do legally to get out of this contract. But they go so far as to ask the company in their cease and desist letter, hey, is this going to be a violation? If we can we at least cover these things up until we can get it removed? I mean, they're going that proactive in response to the citizens. If only every city had a Bolivar Board of Aldermen. Flock will have 48 hours to respond. If the company does not allow the city to cover the cameras, aldermen could hold a special meeting Friday to consider another option. So in other words, if they say no, all right, we're going to hold a meeting, figure out how to get this thing done. Maybe in my mind, I don't think that I am. I don't think that I am overreacting to the response from the city council in Bolivar. We are, especially Springfield, I mean, where they almost make a point of doing the opposite, it seems like, of what the citizens want. You can pretty much guarantee if there is an issue in which the citizens are like, hey, yeah, you know how we elected you to represent us, just so you know, this is what we want you to do. You can almost guarantee in Springfield they're going to do the opposite. And it does, because it's so consistent, it comes off as if it's almost to put people in their place, to let them know, oh, you think you're in charge, you peons? And so when you see, as an outsider, and listen, this is clearly one particular issue, so I don't know if this is consistent, if the people of Bolivar feel as if this action is a good representation of the overall responsiveness of the city council. All I can do is talk about this one issue, but it's just so foreign to people who live in cities like Springfield. Now, Lebanon. This is a KY3 story. Police cameras in Lebanon have been vandalized twice in the past 2 months, or weeks rather, including a license plate reading camera as some residents push for the technology to be removed. Once vandalism occurred at Boswell Park, where a sign and a police camera were spray painted. A second incident happened at Ashley Park. Lebanon Police Chief Jerry Harrison said one case was solved using camera footage while the other remains under investigation. The city of Lebanon has used automated license plate readers, ALPRs, for nearly 6 years. Flock cameras have been in use for 5 months. Harrison said, "We've had Flock about 5 months. In that time, we've cleared 8 cases by arrest, recovered a stolen trailer, and recovered a firearm." Harrison said the cameras also helped clear a drug case, resolve a person in crisis situation, and locate a missing person during that same period. Residents opposed the cameras. Dustin Price, a member of the group Deflock Lebanon, said vandalism is not acceptable, but expressed understanding of residents' frustrations. Quote, "Vandalism's not okay and should not be tolerated. However, you can't blame a citizen for wanting to take down a camera that they don't think is within the city's rights." Price said he lives on a street with a camera at each end and believes the cameras violate his right to privacy. That's not okay for ordinary citizens. That's just too much policing, in my opinion. And there is a debate that occurs as to whether or not you have a right to privacy, when you're out in the public, and how this falls into it. For me, it's a little bit different in the sense that aside from that, let's say that somehow there was clarity on that issue and that constitutionally it is not a violation of my privacy. How about this? I just don't want to be tracked everywhere I go. And just because government has let's, again, for the sake of argument, say that they have the right to track us everywhere we go because it is in the public, that doesn't mean you have to. It doesn't mean that it's right. Proposed ordinance and oversight measures. This again regarding Lebanon from KY3. Concerns from residents prompted Harrison to create a camera transparency page and propose a city ordinance establishing strict usage rules. The proposed ordinance would limit the camera use to criminal investigations, missing person cases, and stolen vehicle or plate alerts. Ban use of the cameras for the ALPRs for general surveillance, immigration enforcement, or monitoring individuals who have not broken any law. Require most ALPR data to be deleted within 30 days unless tied to active investigations. Require the police chief to report use to city council annually. Limit data sharing to agencies the chief has personally reviewed and approved, with reviews repeated every 2 years, and set fines for misuse, including $250 for a first offense, $500 for a second or subsequent offenses within 12-month period. But again, for a lot of people, and I'm just telling you, a lot of people, it just boils down to, I'd like to walk around in my town, in my city, without being monitored constantly. I just would like that. Just because the tools exist doesn't mean we have to use them. And I know for some people it's overly simplistic. And what worries me a little bit culturally is that 40 years ago, virtually every single American, outside of maybe a wing of the Communist or Socialist Party, would be 100% on the same page for this. It would be a no-brainer. Like, of course, what are you talking about? Of course government shouldn't be monitoring us just because. And now even people that consider themselves conservative, we've changed so much to lean towards seeing, well, government this, and well, they're going to use it for good for that we are no longer a country that defaults to no, because they shouldn't. There was an article. It was a national article written regarding flock cameras and how it is one of the very few issues that brings the left and right together. That there are people protesting and pushing back against flock cameras that are on the left politically and on the right politically. And the answer to this may be a little more defined as to why this is than one may think. And it's actually in this proposed city ordinance in Lebanon regarding these cameras. And it notes that the ordinance, in order to quell people's fears about the cameras, would be for it would ban it for just general surveillance, monitoring individuals who have not broken any law, and immigration enforcement. The problem that I would say average people and people that are more conservative and constitutionally minded have with the flock cameras is the constant surveillance. People on the left, their primary and perhaps sole concern is that it will be used in order to enforce our immigration laws. And I think this is a perfect snapshot of how we view government and how we view citizenship in this country, where when we talk about surveillance issues, people on the right are concerned about innocent people being surveilled and innocent people being caught up in the usage of surveillance, while people on the left are concerned about individuals who are breaking our laws being caught up in it. Again, as we consistently see in this country, the right's number one priority are law-abiding citizens, while the left concern is consistently those who violate the laws, who do not accept our systems and decide to totally ignore them. And I think it's just perfect that you have the two political ideologies, both opposed to the cameras, one in defense of law-abiding citizens, while the other, their primary concern are people who are breaking the law. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. Springfield Livestock Marketing Center. They've had a very busy week out there, and they are wrapping up that busy week with a special cow and bull sale on Saturday. Now, that sale, it will start around 6 p.m., and they're expecting a pretty good haul this go-round, around 600 to 800 head. If you want a sneak peek of some of the cattle that will be at that sale, Springfield Livestock does a very good job posting photos and videos on their social, Springfield Livestock Marketing Center, if you do want to check that out. And they are now offering vet services to buyers all evening during the sale, so that's also something to keep in mind. Now, if you can't make it out, they do offer online bidding through DV Auction and live streaming as well. To check out other upcoming sales, visit their website, springfieldlivestock.com, and of course, you can find all of their contact information under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Dallas-Fort Worth Airport is installing Islamic foot wash stations inside bathrooms. You Islamophobic, you.
I guess.
Now, this is how they kind of they make these things happen. There are even some apparently, now I don't know how widespread this is, but non-liberals that are supporting this. One, there was, and this is Fox News, some conservatives were outraged online over the plan, while others urged people to take a more measured approach, noting the news stations are not about pushing an ideology. Quote, people are freaking out over foot washing stations at the airport, but let's look at the actual facts before jumping to conclusions. This isn't about pushing an ideology. It's basic airport management, said conservative activist Ryan Fournier. And what he's saying here is, well, they currently do it in the in the sinks and water gets everywhere. And so that's just to alleviate that mess. Well, how about instead you just say, don't wash your feet in the sinks? Do we think if Christians were making a mess in the sinks and getting water everywhere by doing baptisms in the airports that they would start setting up baptismal stations? I suspect they probably wouldn't. We're going to be broadcasting live tomorrow, of course, Scramblers Friday Road Show, then Happy Hour Vineyard Market 4 to 6. I'm Nick Reed.